I did it! 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 I'm done. I played the world's longest game at peak, and in doing so, invented a new form of torture. But we'll come back to that. So, maybe you're familiar with Peak. It's a cute climbing game where you play with 3 of your friends and you climb through 5 different biomes, and the whole thing is supposed to take like 2 hours tops. But there's one detail that intrigued me. As you cross into the peak to complete your journey, it tells you how many in-game days you took, and I became fascinated, obsessed even, with finding the absolute max amount of time I could stretch this little survival excursion into. Maybe you saw my previous video where I maximized my time in the normal difficulty. Well, this is to go even farther beyond! For this video, I'm playing Tenderfoot, the special easy baby mode of the game, and I played so long, I stretched the game to its absolute limit, nearly breaking it in the process. So I will now explain how the longest game of Peak was played. Okay, so I explained how this works in the previous video, but let me give a quick recap. So while I was editing this, they released an update to Peak that changes fundamental mechanics of the game and inadvertently makes this challenge, and slow runs in general, not really possible. So you're witnessing the last slow run. But I spent a long time making this video, so instead of changing the whole thing, I'll just tell you at the end what's different now. Okay, back to the video. In order to maximize my survival time, I've got to keep my stamina bar from being depleted. It can be depleted in various ways, but the only one that really matters here is hunger. Hunger will eventually cause your scout to pass out and end the run, even in Tenderfoot. So the main mission here is to eat. Eat all of the food. The food in this game is finite, so logically when I eat all the food in a given area, I move on to the next one. And in fact, during this run, I will eat every single existing food item in the entire game, all 5 biomes. Why do I have the time to do all this? Well, in normal difficulty and above, eventually the rising fog will push you forward and you kind of have to get a move on or succumb to its icy grip. But in Tenderfoot, there's no such obstacle, meaning I'm free to hang out here until I've completely depleted the natural resources of the island. However, this run does have one special rule. If I find a portable stove, this nifty item that cooks food, the rule is I get to cook on it indefinitely. I'll explain what I mean later. Also, you guys keep commenting that if I had 3 friends, I could get just that much more juice out of the run by eating them. But this is specifically how long one person can last. And when you see how long it takes, I challenge you to find one friend who's willing to endure that much suffering just for the sake of a stupid challenge. Also, stop commenting the Book of Bones. I addressed that and it makes it infinite, which is not interesting. Ah! Alright, let me explain what happens next. I find every single piece of food on the beach and the surrounding mountain and bring it back here. Now, last time I was limited to hanging out below a certain height value because that's what triggers the fog. But not this time. But why are we bringing all the food back here? Well, I'm not going to eat anything without cooking it because cooking literally doubles how much hunger any given item restores. So I would be throwing away potentially half of the time I could survive here by not cooking. And since this convenient little piece of the fuselage burns forever, I'm cooking everything. Sun's out, guns out, grilling. Life is good. Spirits are high. While I'm here, I want to talk to you about some of the obstacles outside of the game itself that might sabotage this challenge. The first of these obstacles? Well, time. In my previous video, I did some rough math, which people helpfully pointed out was wrong. But I have a general idea of how long this challenge will take, and it's frankly disgusting. So long that I can't do it all in one sitting and will be forced to break it up into chunks. But our first real obstacle is the game itself. This game has a different map every day, but instead of being generated, they're actually shipped via game updates once every like 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know what would happen if I was in the game while the update drops. So I decided I would have to begin the run right after one of the updates completes. Secondly, the stability of the game. It's not the most stable game under the best conditions, so what's gonna happen when I play a single game that's 50 times the expected game length? For this, there's not much I can do but pray the game holds together. The best I can do is to play offline so I don't have to manage any open connections that could cause further instability. Third, believe it or not, while I was playing this run, a Windows update went out. Have you ever had that thing happen when you put your PC to sleep but come back in the morning and Microsoft helpfully updated and restarted all your stuff? Anyway, I didn't even think of this possibility when planning the challenge, and thankfully nothing happened, but imagine if it did, and I got potentially hundreds of hours of progress wiped by an involuntary update that makes my machine worse. I'm switching to Linux this year. I swear this will be the year for real this time. No doubt by now you've noticed my sizable food collection. This time I decided to actually keep track of every individual item I had to eat to stay alive during the challenge. However, it's important for the viewer to realize, although I'm taking breaks and putting my PC to sleep every night, while the challenge is running, which is like 10 to 14 hours a day, I'm chained to my PC. If I leave for more than 45 minutes, my scout starves and the run is over, wasting my time. In order to be completely thorough, I gave the shore a good solid 10 inspections to verify I grabbed every item, and now all I do is stand here, let my hunger bar fill up, then eat my food to make it go back down. Seconds become minutes. Minutes become hours. Hours become days. And the only thing I've done is let the bar deplete and fill it back up again. Surely this is madness. Who would voluntarily inflict this on themselves? What am I doing with my life? Eventually, of course, I finished all my food, and you can tell from my timer up top it took roughly 18.5 hours. Now, it's time to head to the very top of the shore because there's usually a bunch of food here in the form of coconuts that we can cook at the fire and extend our time even further. But I kind of got unlucky. There was really no food at the top, which is pretty unusual. So I think this is a decent time to talk about luck or RNG. Now, I'm not attempting to control the luck or using mods to control what spawns in luggage or just general food spawn amounts. So there's a possibility I just get unlucky and the suitcases are kind of mid, or there's bad food spawns, but I'm going vanilla here because I think that's the most interesting. Anyway, as I light the fire at the top of the shore and move on to the tropics, it actually shows how many days the journey has been so far. And I'll stop showing these so as to not spoil a surprise, but already in the very first biome, I have beat my previous record for the normal difficulty and have already survived an insane 113 days. So, dear viewer, what do you think? Am I surviving a year on this island? Now look, I know this video is probably titled something like, I survived 1 year in peak, but what if it's more? What if it's less? What if I'm clickbaiting? Place your bets now with the information given, and if you're right, I'll do nothing because I'm not Mr. Beast, and in fact, I'm in a substantial amount of medical debt, so if you... Dear Diary, day 113. I don't think they're looking for me anymore. What I want to do first is bring a substantial amount of pre-cooked food that I can use as a stockpile while I begin collecting all the food here all over again. And this is a technique I'll continue to use, basically just bringing a solid base of food into the next biome to act as a cushion while I get myself settled in the new area. I talked about it in my previous video, but in doing a challenge like this, we have choices to make in which biomes we're going to. And I decided that Tropics and Mesa would be better than Roots and Alpine because I believe that Tropics and Mesa have more naturally occurring food. And oh boy, was I correct. As I gather the enormous amount of food here in Tropics, it's starting to dawn on me that this challenge has just started. But first, I have a mission. I have to crack open every single one of these suitcases because I'm looking for a specific item, the portable stove. Why do I want this so badly? Well, on the shore there's a source of fire that never goes out, so we can easily cook everything, but after that point, all fires are severely limited by time. I have a lot of food to cook, so how am I going to get that done? Well, initially I thought perhaps I would have a bunch of my friends join just for like a minute to help me cook everything to roughly quadruple my cooking efficiency. But that, unfortunately, is off limits to me since I'm playing offline to help with the stability of the game.
I could have used a mod to make it so every suitcase after the shore contains only portable stoves, but that didn't seem right to me either. But if I can't cook all my food due to me literally being physically restrained because of how long the fire lasts, I'll be leaving approximately half of the challenge on the table because food is twice as effective when cooked. I imagined the comments in my mind. Do the challenge again, but this time cook all the food. Look, I'm not doing it again. I'm never doing this again. So here's the deal. I understand what the people want. They want maximum suffering from me. So the lore is my scout, having already survived one terrible plane crash survival scenario, spent all of his free time watching survival YouTube and knows how to keep a fire going. So if I find a portable stove, I'm allowed to cook on it indefinitely. That's the small bend of the rules I'm doing to give maximum viewer satisfaction. Anyway, I found my stove, multiple actually, so I'm cleared to cook my food. So one thing I hadn't really considered is how much bigger Tropics is than Shore. Shore, you can climb in less than 5 minutes, but Tropics is no longer a tutorial biome. It's a significant undertaking to climb, so starting at the bottom, I slowly sweep the area, and when I've got about 6 food items, I come back to deposit them at my base camp. In addition to being much larger, Tropics also has significantly more nooks and crannies, so I have to sweep every single area many times to ensure I don't miss anything. This makes the active gameplay time for this biome, and I assume the biomes ahead, much greater. And to be honest, that's kind of better than just sitting around, so I don't really mind. Eventually, after like 10 sweeps, I decide that I'll roughly divide the mountain in half vertically. All the stuff I find below the halfway point, I'll take to the base camp, and all the stuff above the magic line, I'll take to the peak to cook at the campfire there eventually. So, in my previous video, I chose Tropics over Roots because I suspected Tropics had more food overall, and I'm pretty sure I was 100% correct. I have so many of these king berries, which when cooked restore an enormous 60 stamina, and it's beginning to put some serious strain on me. Gone are the high spirits of the shore. I'm deep in the challenge now. Eating food every 45 minutes has become a nervous compulsion. I've Pavloved myself. Every 45 minutes, gotta eat food and peak or lose my run, which has now been going for several days in real life. Wouldn't want to lose that progress. Dear Diary, day 200. I don't think I want them to find me. The mind-numbing reality of it is slowly dawning on me. I've been playing a children's climbing game for more than 24 hours now. Is touching grass even a possibility for me? I gotta shake it off with some karaoke. There used to be a graying tower alone on the sea, and you became the light on the dark side of me. It isn't working! Okay, you want to hear about some of the antics I got up to get some of the hard-to-reach fruit? Oh yeah, I've had plenty of time to search the tropics from top to bottom, and not everything spawns in a logical place. Take this yellow clusterberry for example. Pretty tough place to reach, on top of a spiky vine. First, I tried placing a cannon, but unfortunately my aim was off. I've got nothing but time though, so I concocted a solution. I would simply jump from a high place, use a balloon to slow my fall, then grab it in midair, switch to the fairy lantern to heal myself on the inevitable impact. I'm gonna have the fairy lantern ready to go because I may die. Okay, so there's a balloon. Okay. Oh! Got it, easy. I didn't even take damage. That's how good balloons are. Holy. Oh! Burst of adrenaline. It was a yellow clusterberry, something I don't think I've ever seen before in this game. I am the gamer supreme. Bow before me, peasants. How dare you speak to me? How dare you look upon my visage? Behold! Look upon the visage of the creature, the greatest gamer, the alpha gamer. Behold my badges, and weep. This is just one of many instances of shenanigans, and I would show you more, except I can't find them because I have like 17 hours of footage and I'm in physical pain scrubbing through it. But it's time to move on. I have depleted the abundance of the tropics. I have climbed it tens of times, perhaps 100. Every nook and cranny has been explored. Every last food molecule has been utilized. The third leg of the journey begins. I made a mistake. I made a big mistake.
The Mesa indeed has plentiful food, but it's far too dangerous. I severely underestimated the mental fatigue that has built up at this point. Up until now, I've been extremely diligent in recording everything properly and writing everything down that I consumed, but during this portion of the journey, I started to slip. Let me explain. The first part of Mesa, which I call Tornado Alley, is extremely dangerous. Not only do I have the constant presence of the sun to worry about, which will cause my scout to overheat and pass out, ending the run, but I have to worry about the constant threat of tornadoes, which spawn out of nowhere and can easily hurl me into a cactus. In addition to this, the heat-seeking tumbleweeds are a constant thorn in my side. However, by my estimation, Tornado Alley is where most of the food is concentrated. This being the area with the most danger, and me being at my most mentally fatigued state yet, did not bode well. And in addition to all of this, the food spawns here are the most difficult to manage. The two prickleberry varieties, gold and red, both frequently spawn extremely high up on these cacti, and with no higher area to jump from them, I had to master a new skill. I had to use the low-hanging prickleberries to hit the high-hanging prickleberries.
Let's get this one. Let's get this one. Holy, how am I so good at this? I have no explanation for this. Oh, there's two more. Sheesh. Okay. Kind of good. Oh my goodness, I'm kind of insane, to be honest.
This is a skill that I developed quickly and mastered even faster. I actually don't know how I became so good so fast.
I'm that guy. I'm him.
But disaster would strike.
Oh my. Dude, it's worse. This is worse than... No way. Okay, we're fine. Fine. Okay.
Incredibly, I survived with minor wounds, which I can only attribute to it being Tenderfoot, the easiest difficulty. But I had to design a plan for my safety. On the far side of Tornado Alley is a canyon, which I would use to set up my base. Using a piton I found in a suitcase, I established a safety contingency. It's a borderline exploit, but in this game, if you're holding a piton, you have infinite stamina and are invulnerable to tornadoes. I'm also shielded from the sun in the canyon, so my working plan is to go out at night to avoid the intense sunlight, bring my food items back to the canyon, cook them here since I found plenty of stoves in fact, and then I can safely AFK when hanging on the piton. It's crucial that I'm able to go AFK safely because I spend a mind-numbing amount of time in an area in the Mesa where normal players probably hardly ever go. Legitimately, if you're playing a normal game at peak, your best bet is to run straight through this part, and the grand total of time you spend in the most dangerous area in the game is definitely sub 5 minutes. I've spent more than 10 hours here, opening every suitcase, collecting every prickleberry, hitting every trick shot. At no point during this run were my spirits lower than this. It was absolute suffering, tantamount to torture.
Remember I was talking about torture at the beginning? Well, this is the part of the run where it really hit. I can't think of a more miserable way to spend my time than doing this challenge. I don't even know if I like video games anymore.
Also, after all this, I got hit by another tornado and somehow survived.
This is tight. Where'd that prickleberry go? Was I throwing it at that? Bro. Yes, here it is. No way! Easy.
Despite absolutely hating every second of this part of the challenge, I have to admit I got kinda lucky. I was playing sloppy from the general fatigue of the run, but it could have been over right there. But fate was on my side. I finally cooked and consumed every piece of food from Tornado Alley, and it was time to move on. The next section of Mesa is actually much easier. No tumbleweeds, no tornadoes. I decided I would simply climb this section over and over again, bringing as much food as I could to the top. Then I would use a parasol I found to take the express route down. This method, while requiring a lot of active playtime, was extremely easy compared to the previous section. I almost found climbing this over and over relaxing and meditative way. Now, sadly, I didn't keep track of the total luggage I opened during the challenge, but on this section of Mesa alone, I opened almost 50, and I was surprisingly unlucky with the food. I did get 3 airline foods, which are probably the best food item in the game, and ironically a ton of portable stoves, but besides that, not a ton of food besides a few trail mixes and granola bars. I was actually surprised at how little I got from the suitcases, and the luggage was a major factor in my mental calculation of how good the biomes are. So I couldn't help but feel that my luck here was suboptimal. Got a few checkpoint flags, which is always nice. Also, I should point out that there's scorpions here, which you can cook and eat, but I'm specifically not, because I think it would be dishonest. In order to realistically eat every scorpion, I would have to find a portable stove for each one, which isn't going to happen, and I'm already bending the rules enough.
And then it came to me, a prescient vision induced by the consumption of the spice melange. I saw a way to do this challenge without bending the rules at all. I saw my terrible purpose. But I'll tell you about that at the end.
And with that, I'm finally done with Mesa, and the majority of the run. Suddenly, I feel the wind in my back. My spirits return. There's comparatively extremely little to do in the caldera. All I have to do is give it a solid once over, and I'm pretty much done here. However, I'm not sure if it's due to the extreme length of the game or some OBS glitch from being open for hundreds of hours or what, but sadly, after this point in the game, all my footage has this horrible static noise in it, which I'll expose you to as little as possible. Anyway, as I climb every spire, open every suitcase, find every egg, making good use of the free cooking surface Caldera provides to make sure I don't get salmonella, it happens again.
Hold on. Hold on. I think the eggs glitched again. No, wait, here they are. Why did they move? Oh, look. The exact same thing happened. The exact same thing happened. What's with eggs, dude? What's with eggs?
I put the eggs down to scout, and improbably for a second time, the eggs become intangible. I don't know what's going on with the stability of the game, and eggs in particular, but this was a suboptimal occurrence. And this time, I'm just spawning the eggs back in. I will not have this happen twice. Well, the egg incident is by far the most interesting thing to happen in Caldera, so with egg in hand, I move on to the final leg of the journey. The kiln is pretty much completely uneventful. After the hell I've been through, it's just a footnote. Obviously, I loot all the luggage, get one last portable stove, which is fitting, I guess, and then I get to burn through some checkpoint flags, which was a nice cathartic end.
Dang, that was a clean drop. Clean. I didn't even die from that. That's crazy. Okay. 35 hunger.
And I saved the egg. It was always about me and the egg. I'll just let my past self take over here.
I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah.
Whoops, that's the wrong clip.
A single egg stands in between me and my destiny. This egg, of which I was robbed in the previous playthrough, is now all that I have to sustain myself until the end. I have to admit something. By the end of Tropics, my will to go on was fading. It was diminished. And then Mesa tested me in ways that I didn't know I could overcome. And yet here I stand on the precipice, the peak, if you would be so kind as to allow that. I'm ready to be done. I'm so ready to be done. I'm so ready to be done. I'm so ready to be done. Here it is, the final egg. Sunny side up, just like I like it. And with that, we have played the longest game of Peak. You want to find out how many days it was? Well, me too. Alright. That number's looking kind of serious. We've got 17 stam left, so... Deep breath. Deep breath. Let's see. Peak. Day 477. Oh my goodness. It was more than 469. 477. Oh, no. There's food here. There's not supposed to be food here. Well, we gotta get that kill screen. All right, so 477 days, way more than a year. I wasn't clickbaiting after all. By my count, it was 79 hours, 35 minutes, 41 seconds. And for some reason, the end report says 5.5 hours less. I have no idea why it's different. It was wrong last time I did this, but that time it was explainable. But I've got no theory this time, or except for maybe I just actually broke the game. Guess how long the end report takes to generate? More than 3 hours. As it went on, it got slower and slower, which I finally noticed was tied to my game's frames per second, eventually dropping to 1 FPS and then finally 0, which I figured meant it was completely broken. But then it managed to fix itself like an hour later to generate this pleasant graph. Look how all my climbing, despite taking hours and hours, gets reduced to these tiny vertical lines against the overwhelming time spent doing nothing. Alright, well that was the dumbest thing I ever did, and truth was, I wasn't really gonna do it, except for some people donated money, and I put myself in a pickle because I did kind of jokingly say I would only do it if I got paid. Anyway, let's take a look at this update and see what they changed. Alright, so we got this new custom expedition page. It looks like you can do classic or just a single biome run. Obviously that wouldn't influence anything. You can actually change all of gameplay to make the hunger normal, high, off, low. You can directly influence the spawn pool, so I could have turned everything except for portable stoves off, or I could have taken every non-food item out of the pool. Then, when it comes to hazards, I could have turned everything off about MESA that would make it hard, including tornadoes and cactus thorns. That would have been kind of nice. However, check this out. Progress towards earning badges is disabled in custom expeditions. So what I take this to mean is that this custom expedition is not the intended game experience. So even though this got added, I would not have used this for my run. Now, apparently they did also add the ability to suspend your progress at campfires. However, I doubt I would have used that either because I'm guessing food items do not persist. So I don't think there's anything in this update that would really have changed the challenge since I wouldn't have used any of this. Except, oh wait, fires last forever now and they keep you from getting hungry. What a turn of events. Turns out I did the last possible challenge run of this type. I don't really know how you do this challenge in the future unless you agreed to just not use fires, because as long as you're out of fire, it's pausing your hunger, which makes it unclear how long you're really surviving with how the game's mechanics used to work. On the other hand, it retroactively makes the run entirely legitimate with no rule bending, since you can now cook indefinitely, which I honestly thought should have been in the game anyway, and it turns out I was kind of right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the last slow run of Peak before they made it semi-impossible. But let me tell you the horrible vision I had of how to do this challenge before they updated. You would begin by cooking every single food item in the shore, just like normal, but then you would immediately proceed to the tropics. Then slowly, 6 pieces of food at a time, move every food item up the mountain while using your stockpile from shore to sustain yourself. Slowly, you would move every single food item up the mountain all the way through Shore, Tropics, and Mesa until you get to Caldera. Caldera is your natural stovetop where you can now cook everything to your heart's content. Now, although this would be the same total time, the suffering this would produce is catastrophic, and I can never be compelled to do what I am naming Operation Stovetop.
Alright, here's a list of the food eaten, and the more I look at it, the more I think it's completely wrong, but it was close enough, man. Mesa broke me.
Anyway, if you got this far, thanks for watching. That's it. It feels good to know I can never really do this challenge again with the changes of the game, so get out of here. I'll see you. Well, there is no next time.